by lightning, the assassination of James Garfield, the president. I have. A little unsettling. I think it's pretty well done. I don't have any historical beef. HBO. In a moment, something you might not know. Hey, the holidays are here. It's a great time of year, but also it's when everyone is traveling, gathering, and yes, spreading germs. That's why I wanted to tell you about All Family Pharmacy, a company that makes it easy to stay prepared and keep your household healthy. Please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/bill, order online. A licensed physician reviews it. Once approved, your medication ships right to your door, fast and secure. Whether you need ivermectin, antibiotics, or everyday maintenance meds, they've got you covered, all from the comfort of your home. And right now, you can save 10% with code BILL10 at checkout. So take care of yourself and your family this holiday season. Please visit allfamilypharmacy.com/bill. Use code BILL10 to stay healthy and ready.
Hey, how you doing? Santa Vic here.
And Santa's head Vic head here.
Right. And you can win some great prizes with News Talk STL's St. Louis Conservative Christmas.
You forgot the ho, ho, ho.
What?
You forgot the ho, ho, ho.
Oh!
No, ho.
Oh!
Log on to newstalkstl.com for your chance to win great prizes from Ami's Pizzeria and Restaurant, Small Cakes Cupcakery and Creamery, and Gulf Shores Restaurant, Food Truck and Catering. newstalkstl.com.
Oh!
Now, the O'Reilly update brings you something you might not know. 8 years ago today, the Trump administration announced the defeat of ISIS in Iraq and Syria. That press release ended an 18-month campaign to eradicate the terror network. Here is the story. The Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or ISIS, founded in 2013 as a splinter cell from al-Qaeda, the organization founded by Osama bin Laden. The terror network launched a series of attacks, suicide bombings, mass shootings to gain territory. 1 year later, the self-declared Islamic Caliphate ruled over 40% of Syria, 25% of Iraq. They controlled 12 million people. At its height, ISIS had 30,000 fighters. The group released videos highlighting their atrocities. Footage showed the execution of orange-clad prisoners by drowning, burning, and decapitation. The organization then went global. In November 2015, ISIS attacked a theater in central Paris, killing 131. The deadliest day in France since World War II. ISIS soon hit targets in Russia, Australia, Denmark, Kenya, India. 2016, a gunman swore allegiance to the Islamic State before shooting dancers on the floor of a nightclub in Miami, Florida. 49 Americans dead. Working alongside the outgoing Obama administration, Donald Trump vowed to eliminate ISIS. He authorized the use of drones to obliterate targets in Syria and Iraq. On December 10, 2017, the White House announced victory over the terror network. 2 years later, President Trump confirmed the killing of its leader, al-Baghdadi. Said the president, quote, "Last night, the United States brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice. Baghdadi is dead. He died after running into a dead-end tunnel, whimpering and crying and screaming all the way," unquote. For more incredible stories about America's mission to bring the jihadis to justice, please check out my best-selling book, Killing the Killers. Back in a moment. If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or have no warranty, listen up. Car Shield is a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan. It's now available to the public. You can save out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Please call Car Shield now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. 800-881-0365 for a free quote. This protection plan is at an all-time low price. Drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. So please call for your free quote, 800-881-0365, 800-881-0365. Hey, what do you have to lose? 800-881-0365. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
This is News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump says the U.S. has seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela amid mounting tensions with the government of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Correspondent Bernie Bennett reports.
President Trump did not immediately offer additional details.
You'll discuss that with the appropriate people later on, but no, it was seized for very good reason.
The announcement came at an unrelated roundtable at the White House as the administration has undertaken a large military buildup and a series of deadly strikes on boats that it has alleged are carrying drugs in the Caribbean. It's the Trump administration's latest push to increase pressure on Maduro, who has been charged with narco-terrorism in the U.S. The seizure is led by the U.S. Coast Guard and supported by the Navy, according to U.S. official not authorized to comment publicly and spoke on a condition of anonymity. Bernie Bennett, Washington.
The Federal Reserve reduced its key interest rate for the third time in a row Wednesday, but signaled it may leave rates unchanged in the coming months. Federal Reserve Board Chairman Jerome Powell says the job market remains stagnant.
In the labor market, although official employment data for October and November are delayed, available evidence suggests that both layoffs and hiring remain low, and that both households' perceptions of job availability and firms' perceptions of hiring difficulty continue to decline.
Wednesday's cut reduced the rate by a quarter point to about 3.6%, the lowest it's been in nearly 3 years. Ukrainian officials are expected to present new peace proposals to U.S. negotiators today. President Zelensky says this comes ahead of urgent talks on Thursday with leaders from about 30 countries supporting Ukraine's efforts to end Russia's nearly 4-year-old full-scale invasion. On Wall Street, the Dow by 497 points.
They say timing is everything in the gold and silver markets, and it's true. Dennis Prager here for AmFed Coin and Bullion. Although you can buy at the right time, if you buy the wrong coins, you may not make a profit. When gold was $400 an ounce, many people were talked into buying high-grade old gold and silver collector's coins. Unfortunately, most of the people who bought these so-called semi-numismatic coins, like the $20 St. Gaudens and Liberty Head gold coins, have not broken even on their investment. Incredible, given that gold has risen approximately 525% since then. So while timing is everything, if you buy the wrong coins, the timing simply doesn't matter. Having a dealer who cares about positioning you in the right types of coins or bullion will mean more to your portfolio than anything else. That's why I deal with Nick Rovich and AmFed Coin and Bullion. Whether you're buying or selling, call 800-221-7694. That's 800-221-7694. Or go to AmericanFederal.com, AmericanFederal.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Going to be a cold one tonight, but the winds will be easing. A low of 26, a high of 36 for a cold, mostly cloudy day Thursday. Any light snow misses to the northeast of the St. Louis metro. And then Friday, mostly cloudy with a high of 39, a chance for some light snow by Saturday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to. So make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. That's 800-439-7851.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The Federal Reserve has now cut interest rates by 0.25 percentage point as expected. Again, the Fed cutting rates by 0.25 point as expected. This is the third interest rate cut of this year, bringing the Fed's benchmark interest rate to 3.5%. This decision was divided among the Fed voting members. There were voting against this action at the Fed here today. Stephen Myron, he wanted to have an even bigger rate cut of 0.5 percentage point. Two Fed officials, Austin Goolsbee, Jeffrey Schmidt, wanted no change in the Fed's policy.
And the markets definitely responded. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closing up nearly 500 points. The NASDAQ Composite closing up nearly 78 points. The S&P, the all-important barometer, the S&P 500 closing up over 46 points. We'll continue to monitor and cover that financial news, that economic news that does affect your pocketbooks, whether you realize it or not, and more here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. It is 4:06, nearly 4:07 now here in the PM in the Central Time Zone. My partner Chris Arps up in the Eastern Lands, Atlantic City. I think he's at the, Joey, I think he's at the blackjack or the craps tables right now. I'm not sure which
He's definitely shooting craps somewhere.
Indeed. Chris is expected to join us during the 5 o'clock hour. He has been a little delayed because of a very important matter. He is presenting, he's representing News Talk STL and the St. Louis media community at the JBiz Expo, which is occurring in Atlantic City. We'll talk to Chris about that and more when he joins us later on in the program. Don't worry, Joey and I have got plenty to entertain you and inform you with as we head throughout the afternoon. At 4:25, man, our legal eagle always coming to us at the right time of the week because there's so much breaking news coming out of legal and lawfare land. The senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation, Zack Smith, joining us. Supreme Court weighing the role of IQ scores in debate over execution of disabled people. Yeah, that's not really an uplifting, heartwarming story for the holidays, but it's an important one indeed. The Trump challenges, the challenges to Trump continue to roll through the legal system. Democrats, the left, and the media, all kind of one and the same, right? They just don't like the fact that Donald Trump currently has the word president in front of his name. And so most of these actions are their anger at the executive, the chief executive, and the commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, being just that. They don't like the fact that he is carrying out his role. If it was a Democrat doing the things that Donald Trump was doing, it would probably be on a different philosophical bent. But if it was a Democrat president doing something, probably nothing, with our immigration laws, they wouldn't be suing him and taking him to court. Donald Trump is executing what the chief executive should be doing. He's executing the law of the land, right? He's enforcing it. He's implementing it. He's carrying it out. And he has the power to do that. in what other way or walk of life? And I know some people don't always like the comparison between the government and business, but there are a lot of similarities. And one of those is within the roles that are being fulfilled, right? So in what other business or organization writ large would you tell the chief executive officer that they don't have any authority whatsoever over their personnel? See, the left thinks that the bureaucratic class that's emblematic of what Donald Trump so aptly named the swamp, the deep state swamp up in DC, that they should somehow be outside of the realm of any sort of political or public policy influence. They should just get to do whatever they want, whenever they should be the fourth estate, right? No, we have 3 branches of government, not 4. The 4th branch of government is not the bureaucratic state, as much as the left and the Looney Tune dysfunctional DC Democrats think that it is. And so we're going to talk about the latest lawfare cases against Donald Trump. I mean, really, the cause of action, okay, I'm sorry, that's a legal term. Cause of action is like the basis for your lawsuit. Okay, like what are you filing this lawsuit under? Like, is it what is your cause of action? Like, let's say it's a contract case. Did someone breach the contract? Did someone not fulfill the contract? Right. So that would be like your cause of action. So the cause of action against Donald Trump is not that he's done anything wrong. It's that he's exercising his powers. He's being Donald Trump. They don't like that Donald Trump is being Donald Trump as the president of the United States. That's their cause of action. That's really their grief. You know what? In simpler terms, their cause of action is TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. They really have no basis for these complaints because I believe that Trump does have. You may not like that he is hiring or firing certain people. Like, see, they don't like it either way, right? They didn't want Trump to be able to hire people either. They didn't like his pick of Pete Hegseth. They didn't like his pick of Kash Patel. They kind of put up with Pam Bondi because they didn't have a whole lot of dirt, so to speak, on her or complaints. But like Hegseth drove them nuts because he had been on Fox News, right? Kash Patel, kind of the same thing. So they didn't like his hiring, and they definitely don't like his firing. So we'll talk to Zack Smith about that matter as well. In addition to another lawfare matter, and this kind of goes with what I was just saying. A judge has ordered Trump to end California National Guard troop deployment in Los Angeles. Again, Donald Trump, as the commander-in-chief, should be allowed to use the full force and weight of the U.S. military and all of its branches to do what? He's not causing chaos. He's not disrupting the lives of law-abiding Americans. He's enforcing our immigration laws, which are completely out of control in many of these Democrat-ruined cities and states. So lots to discuss, as I just mentioned, with Zack Smith, and get an update and a primer on what's coming next from the Supreme Court. Chris's Corner at 4:45. I don't think Chris will be with us yet, so I thought of a couple things that I could talk about. I'm going to do I did a segment back in the day when I was doing Springfield, Missouri radio in the morning. I did that for a number of years. Jeff Allen and I were down there rebuilding a great old station called KWTO. It was like the Rush Limbaugh station of Southwest Missouri. It's really an honor to be on those airwaves. Think about all the people that have come before us and the greatness of that station. So I did the morning show. I did Tim's top 3 every morning, kind of focused me and the audience on what we were talking about. So I've got Tim's top 3 for things you should be ready for regarding the Missouri legislature and things that will directly affect us in Missouri that will be on the ballot next year. So kind of like the big 3 topics. 2 of them, the legislature already took care of, and now it's going to be in the hands of you, the people. You're going to get to have the ultimate say on this. And one of them is what I believe is going to be the biggest top ticket item of the 2026 legislative session. So 2 items that are already through the legislature, but are not law yet because you, the people, have to weigh in on them. And the third item is going to be, I believe, the top ticket item of the legislative session 2026. So Tim's top 3 and News Talk STL News. We have a ton of stuff. I always kind of sprinkle this around throughout the show. I'm going to focus on it during that 4:45 segment. Remind you of some of the great items we have going on here, campaigns we have going on here, our own campaigns to help humanity, and some upcoming announcements as well. So Tim's top 3 and News Talk STL News at 4:45 in honor of Chris's Corner. At 5:07, the Speaker stump speech, CNBC. Yes, an NBC affiliate brand, an NBC brand, appropriately condemning who caused the crisis. What am I talking about? Why were they condemning him? Who are they condemning? And what crisis am I referring to? Speaker stump speech at 5:07. We'll lay all of that absolutely bare. At 5:25, U.S. fighter jets flying near the Venezuela coast. That continues to ratchet up and get a little hotter down Southlands. And an oil tanker seized. And the latest on the Russia-Ukraine conflict and more, courtesy of my very good friend, Lieutenant Colonel retired Darin Gaub. He is the state director of the Montana Freedom Caucus and so much more. He, when he was in the military, and I've known Darin for several years now, he's great American. Boy, does he have stories about flying Black Hawk helicopters for the U.S. Army in and around Afghanistan during those conflicts. I'm really excited to talk to Colonel Gaub again. He's also written a brand new book, Veritas Vincit, A Soldier's Perspective on Truth, Faith, Family, and Freedom. Great stocking stuffer that is available at Amazon or wherever you get your books. We'll talk about all that and more with Colonel Gaub, State Director of the Montana Freedom Caucus at 5:25. Also going to tell us about the Dirty Dozen. You know, we talk about the rhinos and the dinos here in the state of Missouri. Sorry to tell you, those types of folks are not unique to the Show Me State. They can be found in pretty much every state legislature and every Capitol Dome all across the country. Darin's got some great stories about some of the ne'er-do-wells in Montana, some of the so-called Republicans in those lands, and he's nicknamed them the Dirty Dozen. Yeah, 5:45. I think Chris will be with us by that point in time, and if he is, we're going to ask him to explain to us what is the J-Biz Expo? What's he doing in Atlantic City, and what did he learn? And who did he meet over the last few days? Chris is always really good about documenting his travels and taking photos with the rich and the famous and the powerful and the important. And so we'll talk to him at 5:45 before we get out of here this afternoon. Man, it's hump day already. And I noticed today that it is it's December the 10th. We are 15 days from the high holy day of Easter, the birth, the commemoration of the birth of our good Lord Savior Jesus Christ. Very important day for many of us, most of us, hopefully all of us in the Christian faith. And I've also noticed around this time of year, so about the time you hit December 10th, I feel like something kind of changes in the air. Like everyone's not checked out yet. Like there's still a lot to be done, right? Hopefully you're preparing yourself in this beautiful season of Advent. We don't talk about Advent much, but that's what we're in right now. It's the preparation. I know everybody's trying to buy the gifts and prepare for the family members coming in and the meal planning and how you're going to keep everybody entertained and all that. And definitely a hush falls across the land, usually, late morning on Christmas Eve, maybe around noontime. And then things are relatively quiet for a couple days until we got things get ramped back up. This year's going to be interesting because Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, those are both on Wednesdays. And so you'll have the holidays on Thursdays. Friday will probably be like a double holiday this year, right? Most people are not going to be working, or if they're not going to be working much. And we'll have our programming here. We will for sure. We'll have something in the hopper that will keep things rolling. And you'll hear from us throughout the holiday season. We're going to have special Christmas programming that will begin on Christmas Eve afternoon. I will be in. We'll not have our regular show that day because, Joey, I think you fire up the Christmas special sometime the afternoon of the 24th, don't you?
Yeah, we do the Christmas special where everyone who works at the station throws in a story or a memory of Christmas. And then my wonderful girlfriend picks out the Christmas music.
Oh, she does?
And she picks some great stuff, a lot of contemporary stuff or the classics done by some of her favorite people. So it's not just the old Burl Live stuff. It's like the Michael Bublé and some newer people, Ed Sheeran with Elton John, stuff like that. So I'm very excited, and I love listening to it with her because she can hear all the hard work she put in.
Can I put in a request?
Of course.
It's a newer song. It's been around for a while.
Probably in already.
It probably is. So one of my favorite Christmas carols, Christmas tunes of all time is Oh Holy Night. And Joey, the version that I like, I believe I discovered it when I first heard Jamie Allman do his famous Oh Holy Night Off when he was back doing the morning show many moons ago. And he said he is bringing that back. And I think he's going to do it either later this week or next week where he'll play all the different versions of Oh Holy Night. And Joey, the one I love, it's very funny. He'll play like the different of like the crescendo. That song really hits a crescendo like 2/3 of the way through. And I think the person who hits it best, I mean, she pretty much breaks glass, is Celine Dion. I love the Celine Dion version of Oh Holy Night.
Do they have Christmas up in Canada? I guess they do. Okay, we can make room for her.
My wife makes fun of me that I like Celine Dion. But I mean, come on. She's talented, got good pipes.
Of course.
Yeah.
She married right.
She did. She did.
Had a very rich husband, and she had her own money as well. Yeah.
How's she doing these days? I heard she was going through some pretty serious kind of health things that were affecting her vocal cords and such and so forth. And I don't know how she's been doing lately.
There was a documentary about her that I did not catch a couple of years ago. I should check. I'll watch that during this show.
There you
I'll
go.
let you know. Double speed with subtitles.
You do that. I'll keep talking, and then you get back to me later. I see you have one of your famous KC95 Sweetmeat shirts on today for folks who are watching. And it's the Christmas Sweetmeat. How awesome is that? Look at that.
Whenever Mark Close is on for Close's Cabinet, I like to show my respect to one of the legends of radio, wear a KC shirt in honor of him.
That's a really good one. Sweetmeat's wearing his own ugly Christmas sweater featuring himself, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah. From the blood drives, I would donate blood all the time and get tons of these shirts.
There you go. That's a good looking shirt. Indeed. Hey, if you have no idea what we're talking about, because we're doing things you're not supposed to do on the radio, you can see us as well. I mean, this is not just a radio show. We're like a multifaceted multimedia company. We've got these really fancy 4K HD cameras that Jim Modular or somebody put up in here a few years ago. And you can watch us on 5 different streaming platforms every single day: Facebook, Twitter, Rumble, YouTube, and Instagram. And you can see Joey's KC95 Sweetmeat and the ugly Sweetmeat sweater, as well as yours truly. What else do I want to tell you? Oh, download the app. Got to download that app. Come on. People are all the time like, hey, how can I listen to your show if I'm out of market? So I was with a bunch of my Freedom Caucus directors last week up in Maryland, and I was telling them about something that I'm going to tell you all about at 4:45. And they were saying, well, how are we going to hear this? Because none of us are anywhere near Missouri, right? We're all in different states, from Montana to Maryland and everywhere in between. I said, you download the app and you can have more of this wit and wisdom that you've been being regaled with all weekend. You can have it anytime you want. They all rolled their eyes at me, as they should have. So download the app, News Talk STL. It is available wherever you get apps. So on the Google Play Store, the iPhone Store, the Apple Store, wherever you get apps. Download News. It's one word, News Talk STL. Just type that in, and it'll pop right up. You download it. You can listen to us wherever you are on the planet. I bet Chris has been listening to us this week while he's been up in Atlantic City. He'll be back with us tomorrow and for the rest of the week. What I was saying was, so December 10th, 15 days out, starting to get a little bit of that feeling that things might be kind of slowing down, but definitely not yet in the news cycle. Probably not until next week. Congress is still going to be back at it. They're still wrestling with this healthcare question. I got lots more to say on that later on in the show. All right. We're going to be talking the Supreme Court weighing the role of IQ scores in death penalty cases. We're going to be talking California, a judge in California, of course, trying to end Trump's enforcement of the law as to the illegal alien invasion. And we're going to be talking about the ongoing lawfare against the president and his ability to decide who serves in his executive branch. All that with Zack Smith next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Going to be a cold one tonight, but the winds will be easing. A low of 26, a high of 36 for a cold, mostly cloudy day Thursday. Any light snow misses to the northeast of the St. Louis metro. And then Friday, mostly cloudy with a high of 39, a chance for some light snow by Saturday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Hey everyone, it's Todd Showalter with my buddy Joey V. Be sure to join me and Joey for the Right Mind Show, where we put the fun in our dysfunctional world. Saturdays at 5, right here at 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, let me tell you about my own experience with the Dental Link in Baldwin. Dr. Link and his team, they're true pioneers in modern dental implant dentistry. I went through the mini dental implant process myself, and I can tell you firsthand, it was less invasive, it was less painful, and the recovery time was so much quicker than I ever expected. And I'm not the only one in my family who trusts Dr. Link. My wife and even my father-in-law are patients too, which tells you how much confidence we have in the Dental Link. If you're missing a tooth or struggling with loose dentures, many dental implants may be the solution you've been waiting for. And here's the best part. They cost much less than traditional implants. The Dental Link, of course, is a state-of-the-art facility right on Manchester Road in Baldwin, offering everything from cosmetic dentistry to implants. Take it from me and my family. If you want your smile back with confidence, call the Dental Link today at 314-794-6464 or visit dentallink.com.
This holiday season, help Feed My People fill the shelves. News Talk STL and the STL County GOP are partnering for an annual food drive, November 10th through December 21st. Drop off your non-perishable food donations at all Bartolino's restaurants, all Chris's Pancakes and dining locations, and all 3 Michael's Flooring outlets, or at the News Talk STL studios.
Hey, it's Larry Connors, and together we can make a difference for families in need.
Visit newstalkstl.com for complete drop-off locations. JC's Wayback Machine.
This week, it's more stuff from my exclusive Christmas library, including a hilarious interview with Harry Connick Jr.
Number one, if you could not sing ever again when I'm talking. Okay, wow. I thought we established that.
Wow. Plus, great tunes from the 90s, 80s, and 70s. Nobody in St. Louis radio is doing what we're doing, and it's all brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9. On News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Breaking news, a federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to end the deployment of California National Guard troops in Los Angeles. The legal battle started after the National Guard was deployed in response to anti-ICE protests here in LA back in June. The Trump administration initially called up more than 4,000 California National Guard troops, but that number had dropped to several hundred by late October, with only 100 or so troops remaining in the Los Angeles area.
Donald Trump is being a proper president, and boy, do we hate it, reads the legal memoranda from the lunatic left. But let's get our senior legal fellow's expert opinion on that as well.
Oh, it's all perfectly legal. You are out of order. You're out of order. You're out of order. The whole trial is out of order.
Zack Smith, legal fellow with the Heritage Foundation. You know, I ask you a lot of predictions. Can you predict what the Supreme Court probably will do with this action?
He is at TZ Smith on Twitter X, heritage.org. Zach, as you swoop in here today as our resident legal eagle, Zach, I've been prognosticating throughout the first segment, and you heard my little tease there, that basically, Zach, what it comes down to is the left, the media, the DC Democrats, they just don't like the fact that President Donald Trump is acting as President Donald Trump. I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. Right, Zach?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Tim. Look, so many people seem to think that they would be a better president than Donald Trump or whoever occupies the chair in the Oval Office. But I think what we're coming to realize, it is not the job of unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats to function as the president of the United States. It is not the job of federal district court judges, although apparently many of them disagree, to be the president of the United States. And yet time after time after time, we see judges, we see bureaucrats, we see other officials trying to make decisions or trying to stymie President Trump from properly exercising his authority and his powers as president of the United States. And unfortunately, this latest opinion seems to be just another step in that direction.
You know, Zach, I want to underscore and underline and highlight and circle what you just said there, because Zach, they literally do think that. I heard I think it was one of the congresswomen. It was maybe AOC. It might have been Senator Elizabeth Warren, our favorite Native American. It was one of them, Zach, and they literally said something like, we just need to really listen to the experts in our country. They're the ones that should be making the decision. Zach, if there are these magical, mythical, legendary experts who know everything and that should always be in power, Zach, why don't they run for Congress? Why don't they run for president? Why don't they run for freaking dog catcher, right, Zach? No, as you said, they're unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats, and they're no smarter than anyone else other than the fact that the left just says they are, right?
Well, that's exactly right, Tim. But on top of that, how do we determine who we want to govern us? How do we want to determine what policy should be put in place? According to our Constitution, according to the laws of our country, it is ultimately we, the people, that make those decisions. And so we say that President Trump is executing or carrying forward a certain policy. That's what we, the American people, have told him to do, or at least a majority of the American people have told him to do. And yet so many people who are opposed to that, again, are fundamentally trying to thwart the will of the American people. And the quote that you just mentioned about the experts, shouldn't we defer to the experts? It's actually worse than Elizabeth Warren, a member of Congress, or someone else saying it. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson actually made a statement very similar to that during the oral arguments on Monday in the case of Trump versus Slaughter, where President Trump, again, is trying to assert his Article 2 authority under the Constitution. He fired Biden-appointed Federal Trade Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter, and she's saying that he can't do it, that he doesn't have the power to do that, even though Article 2 of the Constitution vests the president and the president alone with all of the executive power of the United States. But it really was jarring to hear a U.S. Supreme Court justice essentially echoing sentiments that Woodrow Wilson, others, progressives were putting forward at the early 20th century, saying essentially that we should be run by experts instead of by democratically accountable actors such as the president or members of Congress. And I don't know about you, Tim, but I think recent experience with COVID-19 showed so many of us just how dangerous and misguided that rule by experts can be.
Well, Zach, given the fact that she couldn't define what a woman was during her confirmation hearings, maybe we shouldn't be so astounded after all. But Zach, I'm so glad you brought up that case, because I got a couple more questions about it. Zach, we have 3 branches of government, right? Not 4. But yet, when you listen to Democrats, when you listen to those of the leftist persuasion and philosophy, like Justice Brown Jackson there, when you listen to congressional folks and senators of that same bent, Zach, it's almost like they believe, and maybe because they want it to be true, that there is some 4th branch of government that should actually just be ruling things, and all these silly politicians should be largely ignored as they come and go.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it really is a terrifying and troubling position for any elected official or any judge to have in the United States, essentially subverting the system of government that the framers of our Constitution designed and put in place. But look, this isn't a recent debate. As I mentioned just a second ago, this is something that Woodrow Wilson championed during the early 20th century. Many other progressives championed as well. Essentially, and fundamentally, what the argument boils down to is that we, the people, are too stupid to govern ourselves. We don't actually know what is good for us. And so we should have these so-called experts making these very difficult, very contentious, but very consequential decisions for us. And as I said earlier, Tim, that is not the system of government that the framers of our Constitution designed. At the end of the day, it is we, the people, who are responsible for governing ourselves as Americans.
So, Zach, besides that astounding comment from the more liberal-leaning justice there, what else did you take away from that hearing? Like, did the conservatives ask any questions or tip their hands in any way that gave you any indication of what they might be thinking? We don't know how they're going to rule until they rule, but were there any other clues as to where a majority of the court might have been, what the majority of the court might be thinking about this particular action?
Yeah, I'm always hesitant to make predictions, Tim, but in
mhm.
this case, I think the justices did tip their hands a little bit. And it certainly seems like a majority of the justices was sympathetic to the president's arguments that these for-cause removal restrictions that Congress has placed on many so-called independent agencies, the FTC, the SEC, the CFTC, the MSPB, pick your alphabet soup agency, where Congress has essentially said that the president can't fire individuals, even if they're not carrying out his preferred policies, even if he disagrees with the actions he's taken. I think many of the justices recognize how problematic that is and how fundamentally flawed and how far that has strayed from the original design that the framers of our Constitution put in place. Now, I did think it was interesting. There's a case from the New Deal era from 1935 called Humphrey's Executor, where the Supreme Court upheld these for-cause removal restrictions. They said at that time that FDR couldn't fire an FTC commissioner he disagreed with. Since that Humphrey's Executor case was decided, it's been widely criticized. It's one of the most criticized legal decisions still on the books today. Chief Justice John Roberts several years ago called it a husk of a decision because subsequent Supreme Court cases have undermined it to such an extent. But there was one particular funny exchange during the oral arguments on Monday. Justice Sonia Sotomayor asked John Sauer, a Missourian, who currently serves as the Solicitor General representing President Trump and his administration. She asked him, General Sauer, have there been any other cases that have been on the books this long, almost 90 years, where the Supreme Court has deemed it appropriate to overrule? And without missing a beat, John Sauer started rattling off case after case after case and just embarrassed Justice Sonia Sotomayor. And every time she tried to distinguish a case, he would rattle off another one to show that it is appropriate and proper, and the court has done it throughout its history of overruling prior wrongly decided cases for a number of reasons.
Yeah, why she didn't know anything about Supreme Court history is beyond me. And John Sauer is a heck of a smart guy, Zach. We've known him for a long time in the Show Me State, and he's doing us proud. He is definitely worth his weight for sure. So, Zach, there's been other cases right across the country where the bureaucratic state has been challenging the president's authority on this. Do you think the decision in this case would wipe the slate clean on that, or are there some other matters that kind of have to work themselves in the system? I'm just wondering how widespread and far-reaching this decision could possibly be.
Well, it could potentially be very widespread and have very far-reaching implications. I think that's the one question mark from the oral arguments is how broadly or how narrowly are the justices going to write this decision? Are they going to try to, keep it confined to unique facts relevant only to the Federal Trade Commission? I suspect it may be a little bit broader than that and also implicate other so-called independent agencies like the SEC, the CFTC, the MSPB, others that I've mentioned as well. The NLRB is another one. What I think is going to be very interesting to watch, at the end of January, the court is essentially hearing another case where the president has tried to fire an official with whom he disagreed with, Lisa Cook, a member of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. And what you heard at the oral argument on Monday is some of the justices, particularly Justice Brett Kavanaugh, for instance, were trying to distinguish maybe ways that the Federal Reserve, its unique structure, its unique history, might be distinguishable from the Federal Trade Commission and essentially every other alphabet soup agency that I've already named. So that'll be something very interesting to watch. But a similar issue is going to be heard by the court in January, except this time it'll be in the unique context of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors instead of the FTC.
We are speaking with Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, Zack Smith at TZ Smith on Twitter X. Zack, in the same vein of challenging executive power, presidential authority, we had a case just come down, I believe, maybe today even. A judge has ordered Donald Trump to end the Trump administration. A judge has ordered the Trump administration to end California National Guard troop deployment in Los Angeles. Zach, the subtitle to this kind of tells me all I need to know about where this judge probably falls on the philosophical scale. California had argued, which I guess the judge took their side ultimately. The state argued that conditions in LA had changed since Trump first took command of the troops and deployed them in June. So wait a minute, Zach. So we're going to let a judge determine the immigration policies and enforcement of our laws, or are we going to let the president of the United States make the determination that the situations and the circumstances have changed? It should be with the commander in chief, shouldn't it be?
Yeah, you would think so, Tim. And look, other federal judges, I haven't had a chance to read this specific order yet, but other judges who have issued similar types of orders have been struck down or put on hold by federal appellate courts. Even the very left-leaning liberal Ninth Circuit, which would oversee this federal district court judge, has put other similar orders on hold. So we'll have to wait and see what happens when this order goes up on appeal. I suspect the administration is moving very quickly to get this in front of the appellate court and in front of the U.S. Supreme Court if necessary. But again, Tim, I think you're exactly right. This seems to be just the latest in a string of judicial overreaches where federal district court judges are trying to make, himself or herself the president instead of the duly elected president being able to carry out his preferred policy.
And Zach, let's talk about California, the state's position on this, because if you read between the lines of what I just said about their argument, Zach, aren't they kind of implicitly admitting that there was a problem and that by Donald Trump sending the National Guard in there, that maybe the problem has been solved? So they're now admitting things they never would have admitted in the past, I guess, except now I guess it fits their legal argument in this situation.
Don't believe your lying eyes, Tim. Remember, that's the refrain so many on the left have used over the past 5 or 6 years. Don't believe your lying eyes. Crime isn't as bad as it seems. Immigration isn't as bad as it seems. Joe Biden's mental health isn't as bad as it seems. All of these things, don't believe your lying eyes. And so, again, while I haven't read this particular filing, this certainly seems to be in that same vein.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hunter Biden was just vacationing in Ukraine, and we could go on and on and on. Zach, interesting Supreme Court case. I don't know if you've had a chance to check this one out at all or not. This one's a little bit more on the sober side of the coin. The Supreme Court is apparently weighing the role of IQ scores in the debate over executions of disabled people. Oh, pretty tough story there, Zach. But what say you as to that one?
Well, it actually it is a very serious topic and it is a very sobering topic, but it actually is misleading in some ways, I think. The case is Ham versus Smith. There's a case the Supreme Court decided several years ago called Atkins versus Virginia, where they basically said that individuals below a certain IQ level, if you were developmentally disabled, that you wouldn't be able to be executed. It would violate the Eighth Amendment's cruel and unusual punishments clause. Now, at first glance, I think most people would say, yes, that seems reasonable. Yes, we agree with that. But stop and think about it for a minute, Tim. These are individuals that have been found competent to stand trial. These are individuals that have been found competent to understand the nature and consequences of their actions. These are individuals that have been found competent to appreciate the nature of the punishment that is being imposed. They've basically been found competent in every and all respect except for the lone function of being able to impose the death penalty if a jury otherwise thought that was an appropriate punishment. Now, I've long been critical of the entire death penalty jurisprudence the Supreme Court has developed. I think their Eighth Amendment cruel and unusual punishments case law, which uses something known as the evolving standards of decency, which is basically nothing more than what a majority of justices on the court think it is at any given time. I've been very critical of that standard. I think it's one the court should abandon. I doubt they'll do it in this case. But if any of your listeners want a deeper dive, you can go to my X feed at TZ Smith. That's at TZ Smith. I actually have a forthcoming law review article. It'll be out next year, early next year, in the Cumberland Law Review, talking about all of the ways that the Supreme Court's current death penalty jurisprudence, current death penalty case law is probably the most unoriginalist, anti-textualist set of case law still on the books and in use by the court today.
Zach, I'm going to actually check that out. I did some writing on that when I was in law school for the Journal of Legal Commentary at St. John's, and I was looking at the debate that New York was having back in those days in the late 90s about its death penalty case. So I'll have to check that out for sure. That's fantastic. Indeed.
Please do.
Zach, thanks for everything. Let's see. It is the 10th. So yeah, we'll talk to you next week as long as you're not jetting off to Tahiti for your early Christmas vacations.
Well, I may be jetting off, Tim. I probably won't be able to talk to you next week.
Okay.
But if I don't talk to you and Chris before Christmas, I hope both of you have a very Merry Christmas. I've enjoyed talking to you this year, and I look forward to talking to you once the holidays are over.
Well, very good, Zach. We'll play that by ear, and same to you and your wonderful wife and your family. And we appreciate you and everybody at the Heritage Foundation. You gave us another awesome year of content, news, and analysis for our listeners' enjoyment and knowledge. And we'll look forward to speaking with you very soon down the road.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Tim. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you and yours. At TZ Smith on Twitter X. It is 4:45 in the PM. When we come back, Tim's top 3 that you need to pay attention to here in the Show Me State as we approach the legislative session and all of the ballot box voting we're going to be making decisions on next year. And News Talk STL news and notes. All of that is next in what we usually call Chris's Corner. Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow Tim Jones on Twitter at Speaker Tim Jones. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Going to be a cold one tonight, but the winds will be easing. A low of 26, a high of 36 for a cold, mostly cloudy day Thursday. Any light snow misses to the northeast of the St. Louis metro. And then Friday, mostly cloudy with a high of 39, a chance for some light snow by Saturday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Conservative talk for St. Louis.
It's your patriotic rights and duty. The government needs to step up and do its job.
This is News Talk STL.
It's well-balanced conversation.
News, analysis, opinion.
Hey, it's Vic. If you have a tree that you think is dead, you can get Roots Plus to remove it for you. Or if you think the tree is savable, or if Roots Plus thinks it's savable, they can save your tree and you keep your cash. Call them and find out what that's all about at 314-440-3662. The crews are great. They get things done. They removed the tree for me, and they did expert work, and I definitely will put my name on their company. So save the tree with Roots Plus LLC. RootsPlusLLC.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Duck season opens November 1st in Missouri's North Zone, and deer rifle season starts November 15th. Hunters, are you ready? Mike Ferguson here for Whistle Pig Outdoors. They have everything you need. Stock up on premium ammo, upgrade your decoy spread, and stay dry with top-quality, field-tested waders. Whistle Pig also has big game clothing, deer stands, blinds, and scents. From waterfowl to whitetail, Whistle Pig Outdoors has you covered on North Main in Troy or at whistlepigoutdoors.com.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
Tonight's story behind the story, a family thinks they buried their child. It was a case of mistaken identity.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Democrats' newfound claims about affordability are just patently absurd. Okay, here are the facts, and you know this. Many of you don't write about it, but these are the facts, and they're undisputed. They broke the economy, and now they want to lecture to the American people about affordability. They opened our borders, and now they want to lecture to the American people about immigration border enforcement. They broke the American healthcare system. They caused premiums to skyrocket. And now they have the audacity to tell Republicans that the only way to save it is to throw hundreds of billions of dollars to health insurance companies, which would merely fuel a system that is rife with fraud, waste, and abuse. You cannot be an arsonist and a firefighter at the same time.
Man, Speaker Johnson just hitting it out of the park. Strike one, strike two, strike three. The Democrats are out. Yeah, I mean, he's so right about each one of those. You go back through those. Isn't it? And only because they have such willing idiots in the media that they're able to get away with this. I truly believe. Because if they had an objective media, like Speaker Johnson said, like if they got cross-examined on that and actually called to account, they wouldn't be able to get away with this. And there are some in the media who are starting to crack a little bit on this and turn. And I have an example of that at 5:07, the Speaker's stump speech. Who, you're not going to believe, who was appropriately condemning who caused the crisis. Yeah, who was appropriately calling out the arsonist who was trying to be the firefighter. I have that for you in the Speaker's stump speech at 5:07. So this is a great precursor to that. But going back through what Johnson said, where in the world did we come up with this term affordability crisis? Now, we've had an affordability crisis since Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the rest of the dysfunctional D.C. Democrats caused it years ago. But yet the media, the national corporate corrupt, as Ken Williams says, bought and paid for you, Pfizer media, they just now decided to name it that. They should have been calling this the Biden-Harris affordability crisis. And you know what? That's what we should all call it. In fact, that's what I will call it from now until the midterms next year, because it truly is that. So isn't it amazing that despite having an affordability crisis, and, you know, there was some talk about that, you know, okay, inflation's up and Americans are having problems, but they've actually named it a thing. See, that's what pisses me off, is that they actually name it that, and then the Republicans get tagged with it. Now, we often say Republicans can most times be the stupid party while Democrats are the completely insane party. But on this point, Republicans have no blame to bear. The only thing I would say that they're doing wrong is they need to be punching back more forcefully, like Speaker Johnson just did there. Every Republican should be calling this the Biden-Harris affordability crisis, the dysfunctional D.C. Democrat affordability crisis. They're the ones that caused the affordability crisis. Donald Trump is already fixing it. Just go look at the facts. You don't have to listen to my analysis of it. You don't have to believe my opinion of it, because the fact of the matter is that the average inflationary rate in Joe Biden's 4 years went from almost nothing, right? Donald Trump leaves office in late 2020. If you remember, back at that time, inflation was hovering at or below 2%. Why did it go up to nearly double? Why did it soar to a nearly double-digit high? Because of what Joe Biden did as part of his policies of putting gazillions of unnecessary dollars, printed and borrowed, into the economic system. And Joe Biden's average inflation during his presidency was, I think, like 8 or 9%. And at one point, inflation, some inflationary items did touch double digits. During Trump's term, the average inflationary rate is now back down to around 2.9%. Democrats created the affordability crisis, and they don't get to be the firefighter rushing in to save the burning building when they were the ones that lit it on fire with a giant flamethrower. The second item that Johnson talked about was they don't get to sit here and say that we have an immigration problem, or that Donald Trump is being mean to immigrants, when they were the ones that caused the Biden border invasion. We only have a problem in our cities now with the necessity, the absolute necessity of trying to get some kind of law and order back in place, because Democrats caused the problem in the first place. And maybe they don't like the reaction from the Trump administration, but the only reason the Trump administration is having to do these things is because of the Biden border invasion. Joey, what was that third thing Johnson talked about? He talked about inflation, talked about the border crisis. And do you remember the third thing he was talking about in that clip?
I forget. Check your fire extinguishers. Make sure they're in proper working
play,
condition.
Can we play a piece of that again? I'll stop you when I hear it.
They opened our borders,
okay,
and now they want to lecture to the American people about immigration border enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
They broke the American healthcare system.
There you go, Joey.
They
of course,
premiums.
the thing that we're arguing about right now, the Obamacare crisis. Again, Republicans have nothing to do with Obamacare. You may not like that Republicans didn't support Obamacare, but the fact is they've never have. They've never voted for it. They've never supported it. And what did Obamacare do? It's brought us to another. Democrats love lurching from They love crashing from crisis to crisis to crisis to crisis. They love causing catastrophes and blaming Republicans for not solving them. So that's exactly what happened is happening there. So we have this debate right now in Washington, D.C. Do we extend the Obamacare super subsidies? Why do we need Obamacare super subsidies that do not go to the American people, but in some giant Ponzi scheme that screws American taxpayers, we're going to keep sending tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, to the health insurance industry? Because Obamacare is broken and was never meant to work. Obamacare was designed to fail. They knew that at the time when they wrote it. They knew that it would fall under its own weight. And because you know what they were going to do next? Oh, look, this doesn't work either. Well, I guess we just have to do Bernie Sanders, single payer, government run completely from top to bottom for every American healthcare. That's why they designed it to fail. So here we are. We're going to keep propping it up and propping it up and propping it up and using it as a battle axe and a cudgel against Republicans every election cycle when we're the ones that caused that problem too, us Democrats. And then eventually, when we've spent the money into oblivion, then we're finally going to go, well, you know, I guess we were wrong. Too bad. So sad. Let's now do full-blown government-run single-payer healthcare, which will be even worse. Just ask everybody in Europe that comes here for their healthcare. Tim's top three next year. We are going to cut and hopefully eliminate Missouri's income tax. And we need to do it because all the states around us, except for the People's Republic of Illinois, are doing it as well. Peace and prosperity is flowing in places like Tennessee, while Missouri remains stuck in the middle, stuck in the mud, stuck in the middle. I love Missouri. Great place to live, work, and raise a family. We can and should be so much better. People say, well, you Republicans have been in charge in Jeff City for 20 years now. Yeah, but you know what? We haven't been Republican enough. And Democrats ran this state into the ground for well over. They had control of the General Assembly. They either had control of the General Assembly or one branch of government in Missouri for 150 years. They controlled the entire General Assembly for the last 60 years. So we're not going to fix everything overnight. But the problem with Republicans in Jefferson City is same problem as in Washington, D.C. They're not Republican enough. I love the fact that Governor Kehoe has said something that the Missouri Freedom Caucus and conservatives have said for a long time, time to cut and eliminate the income tax. We also need to vote yes on Amendment 3 and 4. Save the babies, protect the Constitution. Those are the things that you, the voters, can do next year. Finally, News Talk STL news and notes. Go to newstalkstl.com. I want you to do everything you can to contribute to our canned food drive. Toys. We'll take non-perishable toiletry items as well. The big red barrels. Our big red barrel here at the studio is overflowing. We had to move a bunch of the stuff inside. Keep bringing it. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. Love all you people for contributing to that. And finally, the conservative Christmas stocking stuffer giveaway. $500 gift certificate to Newsletters as a huge grand prize and so many other prizes as well. All of that at News Talk STL. Speaker Stump Speech. I'll continue on this tact and this trend, appropriately condemning those who caused the crisis. Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, how you doing? Santa Vic here.
And Santa's head, Vic head. Here.
And you can win some great prizes with News Talk STL's St. Louis Conservative Christmas.
You forgot the ho-ho-ho. You forgot the ho-ho-ho.
Oh!
No, ho-ho.
Oh!
Log on to newstalkstl.com for your chance to win great prizes from Ami's Pizzeria and Restaurant, Small Cakes Cupcakery and Creamery, and Gulf Shores Restaurant, Food Truck and Catering. newstalkstl.com.
Oh! Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but when you go up
and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Every 2 seconds, someone needs blood. Someone who is fighting cancer, undergoing surgery, or experiencing a life-threatening illness. The need for blood is critical and constant.
I'm Congressman Bob Onder. A single blood donation can save lives. Donate blood today and offer help and hope to those who need it most.
This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. President Trump says the United States has seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela amid mounting tensions with the government of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. It's the Trump administration's latest push to increase pressure on Maduro, who's been charged with narco-terrorism in the U.S. Trump told reporters at the White House on Wednesday other things are happening, but he didn't offer additional details. The daughter of Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has accepted the Nobel Peace Prize on her mother's behalf. She said Wednesday in a speech written by Machado that Venezuela shows the world we must be willing to fight for freedom. Ana Corina Sosa says there are high hopes her mother will be back home soon.
She wants to live in a free Venezuela, and she will never give up on that purpose. That is why we all know, and I know, that she will be back in Venezuela very soon.
Australia's social media ban for young people is now in effect. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
At a news conference in Sydney, attended by parents, stakeholders and grassroots campaigners, Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese speaks of his pride as a world-first social media ban for children under 16 comes into effect across the country.
This is Australia showing enough is enough.
Albanese feels sure the reform will change lives. Experts have raised concerns about the enforceability of the policy. Platforms like Facebook and TikTok face hefty fines if they don't comply. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
On Wall Street, the Dow up by 497 points. The Nasdaq rose 77. The S&P 500 advanced 46. More on these stories at townhall.com.
At University of Maryland Global Campus, we give our students credit where credit is due. Credit for deciding in the middle of rush hour traffic to go back and get their bachelor's and a promotion. Credit for managing 3 kids, 2 dogs, and a full-time job to pursue an MBA. And credit for serving in the military by day so they can study cybersecurity at night. For over 75 years, we've been helping students receive the credit they deserve. With more than 135 degrees and certificates, students at UMGC can use prior learning or relevant experience to earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's, and graduate students can transfer up to 12 credits toward their master's. At UMGC, you'll find everything from online to hybrid courses and lifetime career services to scholarship opportunities, making your education journey flexible, fast, and affordable. No application fee if you apply by May 30th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Going to be a cold one tonight, but the winds will be easing. A low of 26, a high of 36 for a cold, mostly cloudy day Thursday. Any light snow misses to the northeast of the St. Louis metro. And then Friday, mostly cloudy with a high of 39, a chance for some light snow by Saturday. That's the latest on the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
But the affordability issue is from the 22% increase in prices and inflation under Biden. There's this full stop right there. That's the affordability issue. And you ought to be able to explain that.
Right. That's right. And look, I think that with the economic team, President Trump and the economic team led by Scott Bessent, you have people who very much understand this. And it was they were thrown, what I would say, the worst economy for the average American in my adult lifetime, in terms of like you said, the incredible increase in prices at the household.
Not Fox News, not even Fox Business, and certainly not Newsmax. CNBC with 2 devastating truth bombs, kind of like those big those B-2 bombers delivered over in Iran, right? Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. It is 5:06 in the PM Central Standard Time. It's dark here in the heartland and pretty much all across the country. Maybe not on the West Coast yet, but it is winter time and it is here for sure. Very cold temperatures flowing into the heartland all across the middle of the country. And it's probably cold pretty much wherever you are, unless you're way down south and you're lucky enough to be in someplace like Key West. CNBC there with those 2 truth bombs. I mean, this is an NBC network, right? And these prognosticators on daytime television, right in broad daylight, absolutely destroying the Biden administration and the Democrats, saying what I basically said in the last segment. And I won't go further because I'm going to go a little bit more into that in today's Speaker Stump Speech. Let me tell you what's coming up in the rest of the program. And Chris Arps is possibly expected to join us. He was delayed because they had so much content to get to today in the Jewish Business Expo, the JBiz Expo, occurring right now in Atlantic City. He's up there on the Eastern Seaboard, and Chris was asked to be a featured speaker, to be a host of the event, talk about media in our changing landscape. This was all. You know what? It's really great when so this all was all born out of Chris and I's mission trip to Israel with Newsmax. And we met all these folks there who are now part of this. So, we all go together to do a thing, to do an amazing trip, a lifetime. And it didn't just end there. This was a secondary event where everybody got together. I traveled all last week. So I was like, Chris, he was like, hey, I'd like to go do this. We're like, yep, you go do this. And I'll be here on the home front because I'm traveling again next week. So busy time of year. And so I'm really proud of the fact that he was asked to represent us and News Talk and be on this panel. And so that's what he's doing. Hope to have him join us at 5:25. But if not, the show will go on, as they say, because we have a great guest joining us. We're going to be talking about the latest on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, other conflicts and hotspots around the world. U.S. fighter jets, speaking of conflicts and those in our backyard, U.S. fighter jets and an oil tanker are being seized. So U.S. fighter jets flying near the Venezuelan coast. So we're not just bombing those poor fishermen, a.k.a. narco-terrorists. Donald Trump the other day had a big rally in Pennsylvania. And as Chris was mentioning over the last few weeks, Donald Trump needed to get out on the road. Apparently, they listened to News Talk STL on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show because the president held a Trumpian rally in Pennsylvania and did his Trumpiest best. And it was a great rally. I listened to a lot of it last night, played some clips from it for you today. If you missed our first hour, you know that the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show is podcasted, right? In fact, every show here at News Talk STL is podcasted. Go to wherever you get podcasts, you can either punch in News Talk STL and you'll get the whole station, or you can put in your favorite show, which is, of course, ours, right? No, we have awesome shows here. I love our shows. I was on two of our shows. I was on two of our other shows today. You may have heard me on my weekly hit on Vic and then popped in with Jamie Allman. I was at the studio a lot today. I'm usually not, but every so often I pop in here and do a bunch of work and try to steal Joey's space heater because it's a little chilly. Joey, did we not pay our utility bill, or it seemed a little chilly today?
Let's see. It's usually HVAC, right? The HVAC.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just got the C part. No, yeah. The air conditioning.
Just the AC part. We didn't get the HV part.
We didn't pay the H bill.
It is cold out, Joey, and the wind. I'll tell you what, wind does so much damage. Does damage to your trees and your house. That's why I told you to call Hanson Tree Service yesterday. And it makes things colder, even inside buildings, right? Because it's kind of like the heat. There's only so much air conditioning you can pump. When you've got plunging temperatures like we've got right now in most of the Midwest, and the wind's blowing today like it was 20, 30, 40 miles an hour, that affects the warmth of the building and its ability to keep up. So, hey, enough about us. Darin Gaub joining us at 5:25. Darin is, a lot of times we throw around the phrase, oh, you're a great American, you're a patriot. Darin exemplifies that. You open up the dictionary, and one of the people there listed as an example of great Americans would be Darin Gaub. He is a retired lieutenant colonel, and more than that, a pilot. More than that, he helicoptered all around Afghanistan and the Middle East in Black Hawks. I mean, this dude's badass, and he's the nicest guy in the world too, Darin is just a good dude. He's an author of a book, Vincent. Let me get this right. Veritas Vincit. We'll ask him what that Latin means. A soldier's perspective on truth, family, faith, and freedom. Interesting book. I'm going to have Darin describe it, but it's not your typical narrative style piece. I'll have him explain exactly what it is. He's got great stories, great storyteller. And if you watch any of the cable news networks, like any of them, Darin is on all of them all the time. I've seen him on Fox and Newsmax, and I've seen him on, I think he's been on CNN even. He's just a really good analyst. And Darin is a hardcore conservative, but he's got that ability to explain things so matter-of-factly and directly that even when he's coming at it from a conservative bent, the bias is, so like on CNN, I could see him just absolutely owning those people and them not even realizing it with his own personal truth bomb. So we're going to have a lot of great stuff to discuss with Darin Gaub. Also, state director, one of my fellow colleagues, honored to serve with him in that capacity, of the Montana Freedom Caucus. He's joining us at 5:25. And then at 5:45, presuming Chris has joined us by then and is able to remain with us for the rest of the show, we're going to ask him what the heck happened at the JBiz Expo Day. It was a jam-packed lineup, and that's why he's delayed in joining us this afternoon. But we'll ask him what he's been up to, who he saw from our Israeli mission trip. I saw the lineup, and it looked absolutely fantastic. So I'm sure he and Becky had a great time up there in Atlantic City. I don't know. I was on the East Coast for like nearly 10 years straight. Like I lived there. I was at Fordham University for undergrad in the Bronx. And then I was, talk about a stranger in a strange land, right? Like plunked down an 18-year-old hillbilly hayseed kid from Eureka, Missouri into the Bronx. It was as wild as you would think. I should write a book sometime, right? Stranger in a strange land. But a hillbilly heads to the Bronx. A bumpkin heads to the Bronx. But it was a great, I loved it up there. And then I went out a little out on the island. I was in Queens. I was in Jackson Heights first, Elmhurst area, if you're familiar. And then I was out in Queens, Jamaica, Queens, at St. John's University School of Law. And then I moved further out on the island. I just kept going further out, away from the crazy. Although when I was up there, Manhattan wasn't bad. It was the era of Giuliani, and then we had Bloomberg. And, Bloomberg pretended to be a law and order Republican. And then I moved out to Long Island. I loved where I lived on Long. I was in Port Washington, just a beautiful little harbor town on the North Shore, near Great Gatsby country. So I lived in a little house that we rented. I had two other guys there. Two of my, one was one of my law school buddies. And then we had two of the roommates. We had Brian, then we had Sal. So they kind of came and went, but Wayne and I were there the whole time. And Wayne was a law school buddy of mine. He was Democrat. I was a Republican. We teased each other constantly. We were good friends. We're good friends this very day. And, we were just south of a little township, little village called Sands Point, one of the wealthiest zip codes in the country. And Sands Point, there's not much there. It's a bunch of old, like true, like English style mansions. Cause this was one of the oldest parts of the country settled by, our founding fathers and mothers. And so old wealth and homes. And there was this one that was bigger than all the rest of them that had been transferred over to the Helen Keller Foundation. But it was this big old mansion, and it was the site of the original filming, Joey, you'll like this, of the original Great Gatsby. That's where I lived for a couple of years.
That's incredible. The Robert Redford one?
Yes.
Okay, wow.
All those scenes outside with the pool and the big house and all that.
Did you go swimming in the pool? Because there's some dead bodies.
They wouldn't let me near it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Joey, that big mansion house sits right on the North Shore of the Long Island Sound. Just a beautiful area. Very New Englandy, very cool. And that's where I was. I used to go jogging up through that area and go. It was turned over. Whoever owned it eventually gave it in a trust to the Helen Keller Foundation. So that was their home base.
I don't think she could even use it.
Probably not so well.
Can't find her way around that thing. It's so big.
5:16 here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. 5 streaming platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. I'll say hello to everybody on Facebook. Just a minute. That's the one I mostly monitor. Joey and I try to do what we can. Check them all out. Check out whatever you like. Whatever you like Facebook, get on that. Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, whatever you want to watch us on, listen to us on. Listen to us on your streaming devices. Download the app to your phone. Phone's your radio. Without further ado, today's Speaker Stump Speech.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Appropriately condemning who caused the crisis. Well, you just heard who that was. And let me circle back on it, as the infamous Jen Psaki might say. CNBC today, or maybe this was yesterday afternoon. No, I think it was this morning. This morning, CNBC nuking the Democrats today for lying about the current Donald Trump economy. A direct quote from the clip that we played earlier, from the provocateurs, the prognosticators, the egghead elitists at CNBC. The affordability issue is from what? The 22% increase in prices under Joe Biden. Full stop. That was part of the quote, actually. Full stop. That means that is where the blame lies. And back in the day, when Democrats were more honest brokers, there was a time. It was Harry Truman's time, the only president who came from right here in the Show Me State. Harry Truman was famous for saying, the buck stops here. I don't know if he coined the phrase or if Mark Twain did, but he adopted it. And maybe he did make the first famous person to say it. meaning that I am in charge. And with that awesome opportunity and privilege comes the responsibility as well. You can't shift the blame to someone else. Just like when I was Speaker of the House, if a bill failed at some point in the process that should have been a good bill that passed, I can't sit here and go, well, it's my chairman's fault. Oh, that's my caucus's fault. What a stupid, lame excuse. But that's what the Democrats have been doing ever since Joe Biden was in office. Oh, it's the Republicans. The Republicans didn't inject a gazillion dollars of unnecessary money into our financial system, into our economy. That was the Democrats that did that. And thankfully, I'm glad it wasn't 100 years from now. I'm glad it was only a couple years from when it happened. Even places like CNBC are finally saying the quiet part out loud in full technicolor, in broad daylight, on one of the largest cable news financial networks in the country. I'm sure they say it on Fox Business every single day, but isn't it great to see it on something other than, we love our conservative networks. We love all of them. We love our Newsmax and our Fox and our OAN and our Real America News. But isn't it great when a network like CNBC, and that CNBC is not horrible, but okay, their parent company is NBC. So, they're going to be a little center left, right? Sometimes left of left, sometimes lunatic left. They're rarely ever going to err on the side of being full-blown common sense conservative. So here they are on CNBC. I can't underline and highlight this and underscore this enough. They are admitting and telling you right to your face that it is not Donald Trump's fault for anything regarding the affordability crisis. It is the Democrats, and it is Joe Biden, and it is Kamala Harris, and it is Nancy Pelosi, and Chucky Schumer, and Hakeem Jeffries, and all the rest of the lot. They're the ones that caused the affordability crisis indeed. And Joey, if we could tee up that clip again, there was something very important at the very end that I want to replay to you all so you can hear it one more time, which was the second big truth bomb that they dropped on the Democrats. Let's listen to it again right here.
You have people who very much understand this, and it was they were thrown, what I would say the worst economy for the average American in my adult lifetime, in terms of like you said, the incredible increase in prices at the household.
That's exactly it right there. So not only did Republicans and Donald Trump not cause the current affordability crisis, but the Republicans were given, they didn't create, they were given the worst economy of a transitional presidency from one to the other that this particular expert can remember. And remember, these people were on CNBC. They're saying that, number one, they didn't cause the crisis that they're now trying to solve. And number two, they were given a horrible set of circumstances that, guess what? They are solving and digging us out of the ditch on. You look at the average inflationary rates during Joe Biden's presidency, and they hover somewhere between 9 and 11% on those inflationary rates. After less than 1 year in office, you know what Donald Trump's average inflationary rate is from January of this year, before he was even president, right? Because he didn't become president until January 20th. So from January 1st of this year to now, the average inflationary rate during the Trump presidency of 2.0 is 2.9%. That 6+% is a massive decrease. And the Trump administration should be applauded. They admit, rightly so, they're honest that they have more work to do, but so much work has already been done. They get no credit for it. Once again, Democrats cause these catastrophes and cause these crises, and then they blame everybody but themselves, especially Republicans, for doing it in the first place. Great to see CNBC appropriately condemning who actually caused these crises. And that's the Speaker's stump speech for today. When we come back, Russia, Ukraine, China, Taiwan, the other hotspots around the globe, and right here in our backyard with U.S. fighter jets flying near the Venezuelan coast and an oil tanker being seized. What does that all mean for you and yours? Darin Gaub, retired lieutenant colonel, U.S. Army and state director of the Montana Freedom Caucus, will tell us next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Going to be a cold one tonight, but the winds will be easing. A low of 26, a high of 36 for a cold, mostly cloudy day Thursday. Any light snow misses to the northeast of the St. Louis metro. And then Friday, mostly cloudy with a high of 39, a chance for some light snow by Saturday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
News, analysis, opinion.
He lines up 4 deals with countries.
Trump signed trade and mineral deals with Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam.
He's a great leader. 101.9 and 94.1.
Number 1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Aches and pains seem to be conflated during the horrible winter months, don't they? Well, I got a place for you to go, your one-stop shop, Comprehensive Chiropractic and Sports Performance. Comprehensive Chiropractic is the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. They work with folks from all across the land. They have, of course, your foundational chiropractic help, acupuncture. They've got the laser treatments. They got all kinds of really cool stuff. Chiropractic has advanced massively in the last few decades. You've heard Doc Fader talk to us about it. I am living proof of that. I mean, look, I know my age, but I don't feel it because Comprehensive Chiropractic is one of the places that I utilize to remain healthy, holistically healthy. Anytime I get an ache or pain, I try not to put it off. I go in, I tell the docs, Dr. Fader, Dr. Benton, Dr. Gorman, they're all fantastic. What I got going on, and they have fixed me up lickety-split on so many occasions for so many chronic and acute injuries. They will help you as well. And I trust them with my family, my daughters, my wife, my in-laws, my folks, and so much more. They got the Studio Health and Wellness Center. That is Pilates yoga classes, awesome teachers, awesome instructors, licensed massage therapists. And if you want to look at a whole new you, in 2026, they've got personal trainers and a whole personal training system that, yes, you can afford, not just for the lifestyles of the rich and famous. Comprehensive Chiropractic at cchiropractic.com. Comprehensive Chiropractic at cchiropractic.com for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Looking for unbelievable deals? Stop by Overstock Outlet in Lake St. Louis or Warrenton, open 7 days a week. Discover big savings on a huge variety of merchandise with no hassle, just great prices. Visit us in Lake St. Louis on Highway N or in Warrenton on Boones Lake. Check out our Facebook page at Overstock Outlet Lake St. Louis or go online to overstockoutletstl.com. Unbeatable value, friendly service, and you never know what we'll have at Overstock Outlet.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
I'm a space cowboy. Bet you were ready for that. I'm a space cowboy. I'm sure you know where it's at. Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
This afternoon, 2 F-18 fighter jets like these assigned to the USS Ford aircraft carrier circled near the coast of Venezuela as President Trump warned the country's leader, Nicolas Maduro, that the military campaign against the cartels could go beyond boat strikes.
You want to see him out?
His days are numbered.
Can you rule out an American ground invasion?
I don't want to rule in or out. I don't talk about it.
Questions over the legality of strikes on alleged drug boats and the second strike that killed 2 survivors topped the agenda as Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth briefed congressional leaders this afternoon.
We got a great American standing by who I know can weigh in on that issue and so much more. And we've also been joined by my co-host, Chris Arps, who, as I mentioned, has been up in Atlantic City last couple days at the JBiz, the Jewish Business Expo. We're going to talk to Chris about what the heck he's been doing up there last couple days in our final segment. But Chris, welcome into our show. Great to have you join us for the last couple segments here. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing excellent, and I see there's little happenings going down in Venezuela.
Indeed. And Chris, we've got just the guy who can help us break all that down and explain it to us. Our good friend returning to the program, Lieutenant Colonel retired Darin Gaub. He's also my colleague in the State Freedom Caucus Network. He's the state director for the Montana Freedom Caucus. And Darin may be retired from the U.S. military, but he's doing about 8 bazillion other things. He's authored a great book we're going to talk about as well, Veritas Vincit, A Soldier's Perspective on Truth, Faith, Family, and Freedom. Darin, Colonel, welcome back to the program.
Tim, Mr. Speaker, always good to join you guys.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure seeing you this past weekend, too.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun. And I'm so glad that I found out you would be available to talk to us today. Darin, we don't have a dearth of issues to talk about, do we? Darin, your thoughts on what's going on in our own hemisphere here and the administration's reactions to that up to this point.
Oh, boy, so much there to unpack. But, yeah, ultimately, this is one of those things where you can't complain about what's going on in the backyards of other people when you haven't got your own backyard cleaned up in the first place. So this is truly Western Hemisphere defense. In fact, the military stood up a Western Hemisphere headquarters and combined some things to reflect that. And the reason why is because we've been so focused on things like Russia, Ukraine, and Middle East and everything else that we often forget what's going on in our own backyard. And lead agent for that is this ideological aircraft carrier called Venezuela. And it's not just narco drug trafficking, by the way. It's serving as a host nation for election interference and manipulation through computer systems. It's also hosting things like organizations like Hezbollah sympathizers, basically anybody who is against the United States in total. And by the way, that of course includes China, who's using that as a platform to spread throughout South America, try to maintain control of the Panama Canal and Central America in general, and come up against America from the southern end. And the bombing and sinking of drug boats and the paraphernalia that they're carrying, of course, is one thing. That's a decent start, and I think that's a great message. But of course, as some are talking about with land invasions of Venezuela and stuff like that, well, that's a completely different thing. But that can probably serve as a different question here and later on. But rest assured, Venezuela, firmly the 4th largest economy in the world and one of the best nations to live in, is proof once again that once you elect radical socialists and communists, you begin to destroy things. And our equivalent would be, I don't know, California.
Colonel, and you led me right into the next direction that I wanted to go. I know that a lot of Americans, especially Republicans, support these attacks on these drug boats, bringing in fentanyl and cocaine into the United States. But I'm wondering, after 25 years of war in Afghanistan and also in Iraq, would Americans support? I know they wouldn't support ground troops, but would America support any type of action towards Venezuela? I know Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon, those types would be adamantly against something like this. Your thoughts?
Yeah. In all things, when it comes to war and conflict, you do everything you can to avoid outright as best you can, regardless. But I think if true and accurate intelligence were out there and the picture of what's happening could be painted to the American people in the right way, that they would support limited strikes, I guess you could say, against Venezuela to reduce their capacity to do what they're doing to the United States and to the rest of the Western Hemisphere. Now, Americans rightfully distrust a lot of the intelligence that comes out anymore because of what's been going on, and I can't blame them for that. But in this case, they might be willing to take a look at it and be like, well, clearly there's something horrible going on in Venezuela. It's being used for what it's being used for, and the challenge will be, once the truth is presented, one, will Americans support it? Two, would Congress support it? Because this has to go through Congress, whether it be the War Powers Act or Article for one Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution that gives war power authorities to the Congress in general. Knowing I guess the easiest way I can say it would be if Americans were able to reframe the problem from Venezuela and just picture it like this. Imagine if a foreign military or military as an ally relationship invaded the southern part of the United States in uniform in the typical fashion of a military and killed 400,000+ of us in a short period of time. Would we call that an invasion? Yes. That's what's happened, spread out over time, not in uniform of multiple nations through drugs and ideology. Constitutionally, the response from the federal government is mandated, not only legal, it's required.
Indeed. We're speaking with retired Lieutenant Colonel Darin Gaub. He's also the state director of the Montana Freedom Caucus. Darin, it was a fascinating weekend last weekend, being not only with you, but with one of our newest Freedom Caucus directors, George Melek, who is of Russian lineage and ethnicity, and hearing his stories about his homeland. And we had a lot of discussions about this conflict that is, we know, driving Donald Trump nuts, because he rattles off the 8 other conflicts that he has largely quieted down, and in some cases completely resolved. This one's frustrating though, right, Darin? Because we're dealing with yet another strong man, and a crazy one at that, known as Vladimir Putin. We have the very stubborn Zelensky, and maybe he can't be blamed for some of his stubbornness, because every time he turns around, Putin is trying to seize more of his land. But this is a very complicated conflict, isn't it, Darin? And I often wonder, are we at the very beginning of another one of these historical 30, 40-year wars? Or do you think it's possible to reach some sort of conclusion with Donald Trump in office for the next 3 years?
Wish I had that kind of crystal ball exactly, but I think we all would. But yes, complicated in many ways. But like you said, you got a strongman dictator in Russia who invaded for all of his own reasons, and those reasons can be laid out for a very long time. Some of them are somewhat legitimate as far as thinking through the mind of Putin, and others are just typical strongman actions. And then you got Zelensky, who doesn't seem to recognize the reality on the ground from a military perspective. He's losing. He doesn't have that much capacity left. There's a huge difference between Russia, who started out the conflict at a 5-to-1 ratio of manpower and overall strength, and that's the smallest ratio. In other categories, you could make it's even worse. And then you got the evacuation largely of Ukraine of so many of their fighting age people that happened so fast that Ukraine is reaching just sheer exhaustion. So can it be done in the next 3 years with Trump in office? I would say to a point that we don't really have a choice, because Ukraine doesn't have the gas tank to keep it going that much longer, especially if the international community also gets exhausted and says, you know what, we're not willing to support you in keeping doing this, when you could end this by agreeing to some terms. And no one's going to be happy with terms. They never are. But are those terms worth killing hundreds of thousands more on both sides of the border? I don't think so. I think this is one of those cases where, you know what, it's ugly. Let's end it. Let's accept no one's going to be happy. Let's figure out how to resolve this. Because I'm a guy who 30 years ago said that Russia never needed to be an enemy. They could have been an ally, and their military is horrible. Why are we so worried about them? Because we needed an enemy. But that usually sticks me on the outside, and then I retire from the military because they give me no further choice.
Mm-hmm.
Colonel, President Zelensky claims that... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
President Zelensky claims that he does not have the unilateral authority to end this war on his own. He says the Constitution doesn't allow him to do that, and the people of Ukraine do not want him to end this war. What is the next steps for him if it is as dire as you say, and I believe it is that dire? What should his next steps be?
Well, first of all, it's awfully convenient of him to invoke their legislature when he needs it, rather than just do what he's done elsewhere, which is unilaterally do things like crush the church population, close them down, eliminate free speech, and send thugs out in the streets in uniform of various flavors to press gang people into this conflict with no training and send them to the front to get killed. I think he's playing a little game when it comes to suddenly requiring the legislature to approve things when he's ignored them largely for most of the time, which makes everything else suspect as it should. Regardless, what does he need to do? I think he needs to accept the military reality on the ground and accept the fact that he's going to lose some land. He's not going to like it. It doesn't really matter what he likes or doesn't like. The fact of the matter is it worth it? Lose a little bit or potentially risk losing it all? Two, that Constitution he cares about, he says he cares about, that mandates elections. So hold an election and stop talking about how hard it could be to do it. It wasn't that hard for him to, in the middle of the hardest part of the conflict, to go do a Vogue photo shoot. So he doesn't seem very consistent in what he says. Of course, it'll be ugly, but that's the nature of the beast. And part of the problem is, like, Putin doesn't think that Zelensky has legitimacy to agree to anything in the first place because he suspended elections in the middle of the conflict. And that's why it's dangerous for us to be sitting in the middle of this, playing off both sides, neither of whom really want to move, and they seem to want to keep the war going, while at the same time, our so-called European allies in NATO are doing everything they can to make Ukraine fight to the last Ukrainian in order to degrade the strength of Russia and give them this sense of peace about Russia, while they're letting the Muslim hordes from across the Middle East and North Africa invade their nations anyways.
Yeah.
So we're sitting in a very tenuous and ugly place right now because our NATO allies are looking more like future Muslim enclaves than they are free European nations that we would help defend.
Yeah.
Some of our greatest allies probably are no longer in Europe.
Yep. A horrifically complicated situation indeed. Darin, let's end on a little bit of a happier note here. You have done what a lot of people aspire to do. You have published a book, Veritas Vincit, Soldier's Perspective on Truth, Faith, Family, and Freedom. From your description of this, we understand this is a little bit different than your typical narrative kind of storytelling. Tell us a little bit about this book. What inspired you to write it, and what would people find if they pick it up?
Oh, thank you so much. 20 plus years ago, when I was a young captain in the Army, I've always wanted to write a book. And of course, at the time, I didn't realize what I didn't know, which was a lot, and still don't know a lot. But this many years later, I was writing a whole bunch of stuff on Substack and various essays and things like that. And people kept asking me to write a book, and I wouldn't write a book because I didn't want to write a biography. If you write your own biography, I think you're self-centered, and I really didn't want to be that guy. And two, I just didn't really want to. It wasn't of interest. I'm more of an ideas kind of guy. Let's debate and bring out ideas. So I took all those essays and Substacks and things and just compiled them all together, and it turned into a book with 82 essays on a variety of topics over leadership, military, geopolitics, and things like that, to where you could pick it up, read 3 pages, put it down, come back in 6 months, and it's a whole new thing. And you can flip back and forth and enjoy a discussion of biblical faith concerns to Ukraine versus Russia, to what could America look like in 2075 if we don't turn this thing around, that kind of stuff. So I think that's what people will find is sort of a variety pack. You go to the grocery store and get the chocolate selection off the shelf, and you can go through and pick what you like. Well, that's what you can do here too.
Very cool. Darin, it's a great book from the pieces I've read from it. Urge people to pick it up wherever they can find books. As I know it's available at Amazon.com and other places. Folks, you can follow Darin at DL Gaub. That's Gaub, DL Gaub on Twitter X. And again, he is the director of the Montana Freedom Caucus and so much more. Colonel, thanks so much for joining us. Merry Christmas to you and your wonderful family.
Thank you, Colonel.
Same to you, Tim, and same to everybody in the state of Missouri and wherever else they're listening from.
Very good. All right, that is Lieutenant Colonel Darin Gaub. He's a great American indeed. Chris, you're in Atlantic City.
I am. And one thing that has amazed me, and maybe it's because it's Tuesday and Wednesday when we got here, but man, this casino is dead. There is nobody here. I'm wondering how this place is staying in business.
You might have to go down and spend some money at the blackjack tables.
I guess so. I was thinking about spending about $20, but I've just been amazed. This is Atlantic City. You think there would be people everywhere gambling, even on a weekday, and it's deader than dead.
I wonder what does happen there on the weekends. Maybe it's the holidays. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know.
And Chris,
That's
I wonder if everybody having a casino on their phones now has affected that as well.
Yeah. That could be the case. When I came here, Atlantic City, I had two thoughts. One was Donald Trump, because he used to have casinos here in Atlantic City. My other thought was Sopranos, of course. It was based in Jersey.
Yes, indeed. Well, Chris, when we come back, we'll talk about whatever else is on your mind. I know you always have stuff in your proverbial stack of stuff, and you can tell us a little bit more about the J-Biz Expo and what you all spoke about and learned from each other today, what the whole purpose of that was.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that with Chris when we come back, before we hand you off to Larry Connors USA. All of that is straight ahead on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow Tim Jones on Twitter at Speaker Tim Jones. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Going to be a cold one tonight, but the winds will be easing. A low of 26, a high of 36 for a cold, mostly cloudy day Thursday. Any light snow misses to the northeast of the St. Louis metro. And then Friday, mostly cloudy with a high of 39, a chance for some light snow by Saturday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
I listen to News Talk STL on the app driving to work.
Download the News Talk STL app.
You got to get the News Talk STL app.
Love the app. Can listen anywhere in St. Louis.
And listen anytime. News Talk STL right on my phone. Anywhere.
Well, God willing and the creek don't rise, we're going to have the man, the myth, the legend, Richard Neustetter himself in studio with us tomorrow. We're going to have a whole bunch of our advertisers and supporters and friends, because we're doing a little company Christmas party here, and they're all going to be stopping by, peering through the fishbowl window here at the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, waving at all of us. And we're going to bring a couple of them on the air. One of them is going to be Richard Neustetter. He can definitely do justice to Neustetter's Fine Jewelers, because he's been running it for decades, but I'm going to try to do my best here right now. Neustetter's is a warm, welcoming place, wonderful people, where you're not just some kind of random number or random patron walking through the door. You become part of the Neustetter's family, and they treat you like that as well. Neustetter's Fine Jewelers is right in the heart of the county of St. Louis. It is a beautiful shop with beautiful people and beautiful things for the beautiful folks in your life. Just 2 miles west of Interstate 270, right there at the corner of Big Bend, Daughtery Ferry Road. WowDiamonds.com is the website. WowDiamonds.com. Yes, they have fantastic diamonds, lab and mined, and they're all spectacular. They can put those diamonds in wedding and engagement rings. Richard Neustetter will explain to you what a master engraver is when he's here with us tomorrow. He can make extraordinary pieces, and I will testify to that, because I've seen them. I've held them just for a moment till Richard wanted them back, and they are just absolutely spectacular. They can become something that you hand down through your family for generations. He can take your old jewelry that you've bought that is still valuable because it's made of gold and other such precious metals that maybe you don't use anymore, and he can refurbish that into something that is spectacular indeed. Watches, watch repair, pearl and bead restringing, quality ring resizing, and so much more. One-stop shop at Neustetter's Fine Jewelers for all the fine people in your life. They can be found 24/7 at WowDiamonds.com. That's Neustetter's Fine Jewelers at WowDiamonds.com.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Governor David Wassinger. As Christmas approaches, I want to encourage you to support Missouri businesses this holiday season. When you're out shopping for the perfect gift, please stop by a local store and choose something made right here in the Show Me State. Missouri businesses are the backbone of our communities, and supporting them is a priority for me. To find Missouri-made goods and retailers near you, please visit buymissouri.net. Merry Christmas, and please remember to buy Missouri.
Paid for by the Office of Lieutenant Governor David Wassinger.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Hey guys, Jefferson County Councilman Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. On behalf of Tim Jones and I just want to thank you for making Jeffco Patriot Radio the #1 listened to show on Sundays here on News Talk STL, where we dive into all the things happening in and around Jefferson County. Check Tim Jones and I out on Jeffco Patriot Radio this and every Sunday at high noon here on 1019, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
The Trump administration says they plan to require all foreign tourists to provide their social media histories when trying to enter the country. How unprecedented is this? And are there any concerns when it comes to privacy, free speech?
It's a pretty unusual move, but it also is in line with other moves that the administration has made in recent months targeting social media. So, for example, back in June, the State Department had said that it would require people who are applying for certain types of visas to make their social media public. Now, something I also wanted to note is that this could potentially have a big impact next year as well. That's because the U.S. is going to be hosting FIFA World Cup events.
Aha, suck it. Well, Chris, Donald Trump sure does know how to make the left-wing echo chamber light their hair on fire, doesn't he?
He does. And, you know, it may be unprecedented. It may be unusual. But when you are coming to another country, you're a guest and you have to do what the guests what the host country wants you to do. And if they want to check your social media for things that you may say that is not kind about America or could be subversive, then you should be subject to not being allowed in this country. I mean, you know, we had to get visas when we traveled to Israel. We had to get visas when Beck and I traveled to Great Britain. When we escaped from Israel, we had to get visa into Amman. We had to get visa into Jordan. We had to get visas into Qatar. So, hey, that's the rules of the game.
Yeah, and you know these folks in these other countries at least do a cursory search, right? Run your name and social security number through through the massive supercomputer known as the internets, and they look for red flags at least on. And if nothing pops up, then you're usually okay. But yeah, I mean, Chris, especially when you have a lot of guests that have just arrived in your country over the last 4.5 years, some invited, most not, and we're wondering, who are these people? Where did they come from? Why are they here? Are they up to no good? These are all fair questions to be asked.
Tim, you know that when we applied for visas to go to Israel, you know that you and I were thoroughly checked against all kind of databases, and I'm sure our social media was checked as well, as if we were to be allowed into Israel. It's just part of the modern day world. That's very dangerous.
I fully understood that they were probably checking us out while we were there. And Chris,
probably
they might have even been listening to News Talk STL and wondering what the heck you and I were doing broadcasting back to the States, you know? So
I hope they enjoyed the show.
I hope they did. Speaking of that, Chris, that mission trip has turned into all sorts of connections and opportunities for both of us and all the people that were on that trip. And another example of that, I think it's so wonderful that a one-off mission trip doesn't just result in that, but it leads to more connections and more adventures and more excitement and more great things for all of us on the planet. And one of those are the items that one of the events is the one that you've been attending the last couple of days, the JBiz Expo. Folks, if you want to know what the heck we're talking about and want to look at it more, jbizexpo.com, jbizexpo.com, the Orthodox Jewish Chamber of Commerce's annual flagship business exposition. Chris, tell us a little more about it. What have been your takeaways over the last couple of days?
Yeah, one of the people that went to Israel with us and was a good friend of Chris Ruddy, Duvi Honig, he's the president and founder of the Orthodox Jewish Business Chamber of Commerce. And this is something that they've been putting on annually for several years, and it's turned into kind of a big deal. Today, the governor of New Jersey showed up to give a speech. The incoming Lieutenant governor came and gave a speech, and it's been all types of dignitaries that have come in and have done panels. There's been a number of panels just on AI and how to expand your business. And it wasn't just for Jewish business people, it was for other minorities and other people that just wanted to know how to expand their businesses in the tri-state area, as they call it. The panel that I was on today, Tim, got to reconcile with a bunch of people that we went to Israel with. 6 of them made the trip to New Jersey. It was fun to see them again. And I had another reunion, an unexpected reunion with someone that I worked with on the Ted Cruz campaign back in 2016. He now lives in New Jersey, and he was coming to this conference to see someone else. And then he saw that I was speaking, so he made the trip down here to connect back up with him. And it's so hard to believe that 2016, that campaign was almost 10 years ago, because it seems like it was just yesterday.
That is truly amazing. Yeah, a lot of the folks, Chris, that we went on the mission trip with, I know were there. Some of them we've introduced to our News Talk STL audience, like Johnny Tobacco and the others.
Josh Aronson, if you remember him, he showed up also today, and man, he's been doing some serious traveling. He was just in Israel last week. He's been to Los Angeles, some other places here in the States, all within like the last 2 or 3 weeks. So he's been doing a lot of traveling. Johnny Tobacco, unfortunately, could not make it.
Okay.
He had a death in his family, so he had to cancel. But I don't know if you remember Hillary Fordwich. She was the woman that was from Britain that lives in the States. She took over for him, and she moderated the panel. And it was just very nice to see her and just reconnect with folks. You kind of get a connection with people when you travel overseas to a foreign country and basically into a war zone, and you get to do a lot of great things and neat things, going to the embassy and all of the different places that we went. And you kind of develop a friendship and a bond that I'm sure will last a lifetime.
5:54 now, 5:55 in the PM. Chris, we got a couple minutes left. Anything else that's on your mind that you want to dish to the folks before we head to Larry Connors USA?
You know, one thing, and this was in my stack of stuff, as the late Rush Limbaugh used to say, but I didn't get to it. Right now, man, for thousands of years, has been dogs, have been man's best friend.
Yeah.
But in the future, Tim, that may change. And the reason why I say that is a Scientific American, they've done a study that shows that the same evolutionary forces that turned wolves into domesticated dogs over thousands of years may now be reshaping city raccoons, Tim.
No way.
Now even making them potentially more cuter. Raccoons living near people have developed snouts that are about 3.5% shorter than their rural cousins, along with smaller heads, floppier ears, softer features, and lighter fur and white patches. So, Tim, raccoons, maybe 100, 500 years from now, may be man's new best friend, a raccoon. Can you see yourself with a pet raccoon?
My wife will tell you that I fear raccoons.
I do too, man.
I just think those things are dangerous killing machines. My daughters and my wife make fun of me because they're like, oh, look at the cute little. I'm like, you think it's a cute little raccoon until it starts clawing your eyes out with those 6-inch daggers it has on all 4 appendages, right?
I'll never forget, there's a park in North Carolina that I used to always go to, and they had like a little deck that was in the back of the woods. And I was just out there hanging out one time, enjoying nature and everything. And as I was leaving the deck and climbing up the hill to get back on the trail, there was probably about 7 or 8 of them that were just watching. That were just watching me, and I about freaked out because I was like, "Oh my God, are they about to attack me? What are they about to do?"
It's a good.
So I will never ever forget that.
That sounds like Blackjack Park to me.
That was, Joey. You know the park. It was at Blackjack Park, and you know how you walk up that hill to leave the deck. And there was literally about 7 or 8 of them were just on top of the hill, just like watching.
It's hilarious. Everyone got a convention up there. That's hilarious.
It was.
Oh, wow. Hey, Chris, we got to roll, but Larry Connors USA is coming up next. Hey, you and Becky travel safe and sound and well back home, and we'll see you tomorrow in studio, and then we'll have the big party.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You too as well. All right, Larry Connors USA is coming at you. Got a jam-packed show today, as he always does. We'll be back at you tomorrow, 4 to 6. Mike Ferguson out of the gates at 5:30. Everything at newstalkstl.com. God bless America. Love the ones you're with. See you tomorrow on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
What's the best way to get rid of a timeshare that you don't want? Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline. We're a group of attorneys that help customers legally exit their timeshares. It's an easy process. We guarantee results or you pay nothing. Exit your timeshare today. Call now.
800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
Streaming TV is where it's at. It's not about cutting the cord anymore. That's old news. It's all about your customized TV options with the best and cheapest